I came to the Women's Refugee Commission about a year and a half ago because I wanted to be part of an organization that fights for the rights of displaced women and children. An organization that doesn't just identify problems, but works to achieve real solutions. Two stories illustrate why the work of the Women's Refugee Commission is vital. Zala is from Mogadishu. When she was 11, her parents were slaughtered in front of her eyes. She fled with her neighbors to the coast, where they found a small boat. They floated at sea for 5 weeks. Eventually, Zala reached a refugee camp in Ethiopia. There, she found a job as a domestic servant. She hasn't gone to school since. She sometimes is beaten by the women in the camp. Zala is now 14. She says she doesn't think of her future or about going back to school. She's not looking beyond her next meal. Asha is 13. She's also from Mogadishu. And like Zala, she lives in a refugee camp in Ethiopia. But Asha is luckier than Zala. She learned how girls can better protect themselves against violence and where she can get help and support if she needs it. Asha gained self-esteem and confidence to convince her mother to let her finish her education before marrying. She says that one by one, girls like her are learning how to fight for their rights and their futures. For more than 20 years, the Women's Refugee Commission has been doing research and advocating for programs like this one. We want all refugee girls to have a chance to learn, to grow, to thrive, like Asha. We met Zala and Asha just a couple of weeks ago when we were doing field research in Ethiopia. They are 2 of 32 million women and children who've been uprooted by crisis and conflict. While much of the refugee experience for girls is difficult and depressing, refugee girls are resilient and strong. They strive to make the most of the opportunities they're offered. And when given the right opportunities, they can take charge of their lives. Our mission is to ensure that they get the resources and support they need. Our work is grounded in what we hear from refugees themselves about the challenges they face. Their voices and views are the starting point for everything we do. This is key to the organization's success. We build upon their creative ideas to develop strategies that will improve their lives and prevent future violence. We help shape the policies and programs that can better protect and empower them. Over the past 23 years, we have celebrated life-saving achievements. Thanks to our sustained advocacy, basic reproductive health services are now a required standard in refugee programs around the world. We work so that fewer women die in childbirth, more women have access to family planning, and survivors of sexual violence get the services they need. Through our Livelihoods program, refugees have a greater chance to earn a safe and dignified living. This is essential, as the average length of displacement is now over 17 years. In the past year alone, we've addressed some critical gaps. In the Horn of Africa, thousands of refugee women have received fuel-efficient stoves because of our advocacy. They now won't have to risk their lives looking for firewood simply to cook a meal for their families. In conflict settings, about 15% of displaced people live with a disability. As a result of our trainings for humanitarian workers, some 25,000 refugees with disabilities in Uganda, India, and Bangladesh are getting better protection and services. We are also active in the United States, where undocumented immigrants are too often unaware of their parental rights. We created an innovative guide that helps detained immigrants keep custody of their children and helps keep their families together. The stories I've shared of Zala and Asha remind us all how much work remains to be done. In crisis settings, poverty and instability breed an environment that puts young girls at great risk. They are more vulnerable to forced marriage, more vulnerable to sexual abuse and sexual exploitation. In these areas, over 50% of victims of sexual violence are 15 or younger. They are also least likely to be offered reproductive health and education. A staggering number of displaced girls are out of school. But as many of you know, adolescent girls are resourceful and determined. Some basic interventions, peer support groups, safe places to study, secure places to sleep, can have a profound effect on their future. That's why we're launching a new program, Protecting and Empowering Displaced Adolescent Girls. We are intensifying our efforts to make a difference in their lives. We've learned that girls' access to education, skills training, and services isn't enough. Girls need to be safe in their homes, schools, and communities. They need to be safe to fully participate, and they need to be safe to be empowered. And it's our responsibility in the humanitarian community to make sure our programs and services address refugee girls' extreme isolation and vulnerability in a comprehensive way. This is what today's Voices of Courage Luncheon is all about. We will hear from some extraordinary leaders this afternoon who are helping empower young women and girls. With great passion and purpose, they are bringing about positive change. We are thrilled to honor them, and with your support, girls like Asha and Zala can one day become visionary, courageous leaders like the women we recognize here today. Thank you all.